Hi everybody, Jo here again. How are you doing? Hope you're doing okay. Thanks for popping in today. Now, we're going to have a bit of a Technique Tuesday today, and I thought we'd look at a couple of new products. Well, they're new to me anyway. You may have used them before. I often get asked about different products that we sell at Lavinia, and I thought I'd just give you a little bit of information about them. And then, heads up, I am going to be using them over the next few months in various projects. But I know you like to just sometimes you're thinking of buying a product, but you just want to see what it's like. These are Sizzix Crystal Paste, and we've got Crystal Glaze. And they come in these fabulous jars. And I've popped them on some of our cardstock. And this is the Fired Earth, because I know you'll want to know what cardstock I've used. And I've used the dark green. I just thought it would show up really well. So this is our crystal paste, and as you can see, it dries very crystally white. It's a texture paste, and it's very much like a grit paste, this, if you've ever used grit paste. Drying time, this took about an hour, but I have to say, I think it does depend on your room conditions, the temperature of the house, etc., your craft room, and I love that. And I have to say, I'm thinking Christmas. And I'm thinking this is going to make fabulous snow-on projects, MDF, cards, can't wait. So that's the paste. The next one I've done a little swoosh for you, and this is the Crystal Glaze. And as you can see, this is more of a sort of, well, a glaze really. I mean, look at that. It's a little bit like using glossy accents, but imagine how much glossy accents you'd need to create that. It doesn't stand up as far, it's not as raised, it's flatter to the actual cardstock, so that's one difference. Another difference, which I'll show you in the jar, I'll just move these out of the way because you know what I'm like, is the paste is thicker than the glaze. Now, they have this lid on. Don't discard this, because this lid, and I do struggle with these. I have arthritis in my knuckle and I'm due my injection, and I have to say it does make me struggle opening things. Anyway, I digress. So it's quite a thick paste, is the paste. Quite a thick paste is the paste. But I'll show you with the glaze. Sometimes the words. So again, we'll flick that up. So can you see the glaze is definitely more runny as opposed to the paste, which is more of a paste, and it's thicker. You put them in the same sort of manner. One thing I have discovered with the paste is that I could colour it, because it's this beautiful sort of translucent and it shows the colour of the cardstock through. I wondered if I could colour it, and I have. All the stencil I've used, they are all Lavinia stencils, and I'll list them at the end. Now look at this. And all I did to create this beautiful coloured glaze was in my lovely Daisy palette. I just, with my palette knife, lifted some of my glaze in there, and then I added a spritz of my Mysticals, and then I just mixed it in here and then popped it through the stencil. And as I say, I'm thinking, wow, so many possibilities, because we've got so many different colours of the Mysticals, and it almost makes it sparkly and glaze. So when you think all the different stencils you've got, the things you can put it on top of, the colours, using coloured card, using white card, honestly, it's no wonder my mind's been buzzing. But what I'll do, I'll just show you a little example of how they go on. And we'll go for the paste. So I'm going to put the lid on the glaze and screw that on nice and tight. And I'm just going to bring in a little mat just to save my Lavinia craft mat. Well, try and save it a little. So I'm going to use some black card and some of our Lavinia low tack tape. And I'm just going to create a border. Now, I do this two reasons. One, I think it looks nice. but 2, I've got to be honest, it saves using as much paste. And I am a bit thrifty and I don't like to waste, so I think the design will look just as nice for using less. So we'll pop that all the way around. And then I'm going to come in, and the stencil I'm going to use for this is the Dynamic. Now I'm thinking this would make a lovely background for wedding cards. Obviously I'm thinking Christmas cards. Now with this, just let me look, there's 2 almost circles there, look. And I like to almost see if I can get them in opposite corners. And I know that makes me a bit sad, but I like that. I know it's offset, but you see that circle and that circle. And I'll just put another piece of tape up here, which I'm liable to forget about because I'm not used to taping things down. Now, for me, I find I use the back of my palette knife. But again, as I always say, you know, if you've got a way that works for you, you do it that way. And as I say, look, this is quite a lovely, thick, beautiful paste. The glaze is much thinner and it almost spreads on finer. So I tend to pop some on and just press it down. Again, get some more on the back. But it's all about the way that you normally work with your products. If you have a tried and tested method, then you go for that. I try not to get too much on my edge on this border with the low tack tape, only because I don't want to waste it. So if I've got a little bit like this here, don't really want to get any more to fill that gap. So I'll see if I can move a bit around. I mean, it's best not to over sort of mess with it, but I don't really want to add any more. So if I can just fill that from that bit up there, right, I think that's good to go. Now this, I'm just going to, my knife, I'm just going to wipe. I've got a damp cloth here. And the stencil, it is best if you wash it straight away. Now with the lid as well, I'm just going to put the lid over my bin and with a damp piece of tissue, just wipe around the lid. Only because if you get a build up here, it can almost stick the lid. So I try to keep mine as clean as possible. Try to make sure that this protective lid that keeps it airtight is flush before you press it down. Otherwise it can go inside the pot. And if you've done it like I did yesterday, you'll know about that. But this is the bit, these ridges here, we want nice and clean so that the lid will just screw back on and it won't stick. And then I'm going to lift this up. Now the stencil doesn't harm it at all, but it's best to wash it straight away. Now I'm not going to be able to, so I've got a piece of wet kitchen roll on a mat on the floor, and I'm being very brave because it's right next to Eric. So I'm just going to lift this up and pop that stencil, which looks beautiful and glittery, look. I wonder if there's a way you could spritz that and even put it on a surface and get a print, I wonder. Anyway, we can try that another day. What I am going to do is take a bit of kitchen roll, spritz it, and then lay that on top of my stencil. And that way it'll just keep it damp until a couple of minutes time when I can go and wash it. But I want to finish our little catch up before I do that. Now if I bring this up, look, and let's take away the tape. Now if you can with the tape, try and fold it inside itself just so that you don't get paste everywhere. And if you're anything like me, you may just have the odd bit on the edge, so I'm just going to clean that up. It almost reminds me of icing sugar. So if I just get rid of that, again, file that next to Eric. Look, how beautiful is that? Now I'll show you the difference. It's quite white, and here is one that's dry. As I say, for me it's taking about an hour. So it does go from white to being more sort of transparent, I suppose, less white, more speckled, I suppose. But when it's dry, look, all I've done on this to make up, because I know you're going to say, that's a lovely, you know, background, but what you're going to do with it. I know you like to see a finished product. So I've just matted mine here on some white card. I've added a couple of £1, the mini flutter stamps, and I've just added a lovely sentiment, think happiness. And I've put some little white Posca just to bring the white in. And I think that's lovely. I mean, think of your florals. You could decoupage them. One of the little houses decoupage. I mean, so many things you could do. And do you know what? I can't wait to see if you've used either of these. Please pop the picture on Lavinia if it's with a Lavinia stencil and let me see what you've done. Now, I'm going to put that there to dry. As I say, I've got so many ideas in my head, especially thinking Christmas, which probably a bit early, but there we go. So I'm going to bring these back in for you to see, and we'll put the right one. So the paste is the white, almost the thicker one, and the glaze is more, obviously, of a glaze. And I'll pop the one I've coloured, which is alive, with my lovely mysticals there, just to give you a bit of a recap. And finally, there's an idea for a finished design. So I hope that's been useful for you. As I say, that's just really the basics, a little bit to just whet that crafty appetite, get them juices flowing. So when you've got your paste and your glaze, maybe come back, and I'm going to be adding it to some of my videos in future months. So you take care. Special day for me today. It's my birthday, but don't tell anyone. Shh. So I may just go and have a cheeky glass of Prosecco. So I'm going to wish you all good health, wealth and happiness. Lots of love and hugs from me. You take care, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.